Painted Stitches. Welcome to my channel. This is a channel on YouTube that we call Flosstube. It's all about cross stitch for the most part. Today is Saturday, September 6th, and it's 2:30 in the afternoon. I usually film on a Sunday, but due to circumstances beyond my control, I have to film on a Saturday because, yeah, there's a scheduled power outage. So that would, it's possible, but the weather is not cooperating as far as lighting would go, so that wouldn't be a good combination anyways. And yeah, so it's been 5 weeks, I believe, since my last video. I know I said I would do more regular, but you know, life. So I do have quite a bit to show. I was actually refraining from working on so many projects because I didn't want to have to do, you know, 2-hour-long video just to do a catch-up. But I did switch things up because it's been 5 weeks and I am not that monogamous. I also play Monopoly. Every Sunday we roll the dice. There's Amy, Kim, and Gail, and we just go around the Monopoly board and move our spaces and pick our projects with the goal of like whatever the stitch count is for whatever is associated to that property that we land on. Keeping it simple. Yeah. So that's pretty much what's been determining what I work on, and I am still sticking to my regular rotation on my full coverage pieces in the mornings. I have, you know, there's a loose plan, and it's working. Things are getting quite a bit of progress. I don't even know. I know I've had new starts, and those were probably included in my last video because I don't think there's been any new starts since then, and those new starts have not, well, the one had so little progress on it, I'm sure. When it comes out again, you'll see it again. So we're just going to stick to the ones that I know that I've worked on. They're sitting right here. And yeah, I guess we'll just start with the one that I've worked on most recently in the full coverage category. And this is a hatter. Here's what it will look like when it's finished, and what it looked like the last time you saw it. And here it is now. And I am still working in the typewriter method, and I'm over here and working on the shading here means that the thread is just naturally going to come this way. So yeah, filling in, trying to get up to the pink line there, which would be, I'm not sure, row 100, I think, from the top, and it's 160 or something like that. If I remember, I'll pop in the details. Yeah, artwork by Chris Ortega, charted by, this is a kit that my husband got me by Gecko Rouge. 25 count, 2/1/2 cross with the kit floss on the kit fabric. I started this New Year's Day 2018, and it is about 48%. Like, it is so close to halfway. the center of his nose right there, I think, was the halfway point. So we're almost all the way. So I'm still working on this for this week. I only actually worked on it this morning in the most recent rotation, and I've already got 518 stitches done. So the next 500, because once I reach that 1,000 threshold, I just finish that morning working on it and swap it out for the next morning. So what I swap it to is right here, since I'm talking about it. You know, this is a stitching shelf by Amy Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. Here's what it will look like when it's finished, and what it looked like the last time you saw it. And I'm weird like this, and I'm stitching in the opposite season to what I am experiencing. So right now, still technically summer, so I am working in the winter row. And as you can see, there is quite a bit of progress in this section here. And I did not realize it until it was mostly stitched in, but that's a child watching a mother's needlework. Yeah. I'm actually going to pause the video right here and get something. Okay, so excuse the dust, but this is a picture of me and a little girl I used to babysit. She would try to help me with my stitching, and so that's what that scene reminded me of. I mean, obviously this little girl is older than Leah was, but yeah. Stitching shelf, Heaven and Earth, 2/1/2 cross, 25 count Lugana. I'm pretty sure it's 25 count Lugana. Okay. Now, yeah, I'll show you what I worked on for my Monopoly stitching in the order that they came up when they got rolled. I can't remember. I know I didn't show it because I've left it here deliberately. I can't remember what I landed on. I believe it was a community chest or chance, and I picked a card from my deck of Black Needle Society cards that came with one of the boxes that they release, and I think it was stitched on something with an animal. And so I, out of all of my whips, I chose to work on Menagerie by the Drawn Thread. This is a memory piece that I am doing to commemorate Khaleesi. If you've been here a while, you know who that is. And I look down because Gidget, some reason, has decided that she wants to be in here with me. So, yeah. So here's where it was last time, and where it is now. Maybe we can do a side by side. I'll get in closer so you can see. Okay, this was a month ago that I worked on this, but I'm sure I put in more of these white things in the border and some of the 1/1 butterflies and the specialty stitches on that. This is stitched on, what is it stitched on? 36 count River Willow by Lakeside Linens, and using DMC and the called for Gloriana for the main color in the border. Yeah. So I would really like to rechart the two animals that are there to be more like the two animals that would be represented in this. And I know you're thinking Khaleesi and Gidget. If I could get the three of them in there, but there's Khaleesi, Gidget, and Gonzo. Yeah, Gonzo would have been around at the very beginning of my videos. Okay, just trying to get this over there. Okay, so now, where's that one? Okay. They're just randomly scattered on the floor here. And I gotta take the chart off. My working copy. This is the next Monopoly roll that I got was I landed on Baltic, which, what do I have Baltic? I believe that was for Christmas. Anyways, for whatever reason, Baltic is associated with the sled stocking. I have about 4 or 5 projects associated with the different color schemes. Usually it's related to the color scheme of the property. For example, dark blue, which is, you know, the most expensive areas, Park Place and Boardwalk, those are bling. Green, those are like Pennsylvania, Pacific Avenue, I believe, summer. Yellow zone is spring, red is Christmas, orange is fall, pink is Fancy Lady, light blue is Samplers, and brown is Animal. Baltic would have been brown. Animal. There's birds on here. That's exactly what it was. See, I knew once I talked it out, I would. Yeah. Remember why I picked that. Most of the bags you see, if they're homemade, they're made by me. Cardinal, right? Perfect bag. Okay. Here's where it was when you last saw it. And I actually had to move it in the Q-snap because I couldn't work the direction I was going in the orientation it was in the Q-snap. So here's where it's at now. This is very exciting. This is the very edge of the stocking over here, right in there. So I didn't sew on a scrap piece of fabric because I figured it's only a little bit tight for, you know, a few stitches, and then this is more comfortable. But really, this is finished, like completely stitched, full crosses, half crosses, whatever the chart called for, up to here. So it's just this area here that has to be done, and that's it. I mean, this is all that's left. Yeah. So this has kind of moved up higher in my priorities for getting it finished, because it is so close to being finished. Christmas is a little while away. I know, it's September, so that gives me, what, 2 months? But there's no pressure, because if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I stitch what I want when I want, with few, you know, guidances. So there's that. Okay. Then I landed on visiting jail. And for me, that space is dread, let's just say. For whatever reason, I don't want to pick something up. This is the one space that is kind of like, no, pick it up, work on it, do your time. And so, even though I was just visiting, I decided, yep, time to pull out Poppy Girl, Girl in a Poppy Field, and work on that area that I was dreading. Here's what it will look like when it's finished. And here's where it was when you last saw it. I will have to put something behind this. Let's go ahead and put that. And here's where it's at now. So, yeah, there's a mistake over here, and I am fudging her arm and dress because all of this is off, and I'm not frogging it, and so I'm just finishing the poppies, and I'm gonna fudge her dress, and yeah, this is another one where I think if I just focus on this one, this could be finished too, because that's all that's left. Well, actually, most of this is already stitched. Yeah, this is already stitched up to here. So that's all that's left. And the back stitching, which this is a Vervico kit, Girl in a Poppy Field. It came with 14 count Aida. I started on the Aida that came with it. Did not enjoy the experience, so I switched it out to 32 count Platinum, and I really love working on this fabric and thread. Beautiful combination. It's just, yeah, have to work through that fudging that I need to do. So it's getting there, and it was very promising when I put it away. That I felt very good, very happy with how the fudging is working out. Okay, so from visiting jail, I landed on Waterworks. Now, some of these spaces you're thinking, well, that's way too far away. Doubles were rolled, and you go again. So, Waterworks, for me, I have Waterworks associated with bling and or water. Bling only because there's those two spaces, Waterworks and electric, and so that's why. And so what I picked for this is Royal Tudor Mandala by Chatelaine. Here's what it will look like when it's finished. Yeah. Here's where it's at now. Here's where it was when you last saw it. And where it's at now. And I know you're probably thinking nothing happened. But quite a bit did happen, actually. So starting over, I can't see, here, this crown is now all outlined. This crown is all outlined. And the Jessica stitches are in place for all those pearls or puffs, whatever they're supposed to be. All the Jessica stitches here, those are almost all new. So that means, yeah, I mean, all of the stitching on there is done. All that's left for that area now is beads. I was having a little bit of difficulty with the Jessica stitches, and it's no fault of the pattern. It's my brain. One of the, I'm actually probably gonna, I might and I might not. That Jessica stitch right there is not quite matching up with the rest. And it was bothering me, and one of the things, I mean, a Jessica stitch is a bit tricky. And so to make it simple for myself, instead of counting on the chart and trying to line up where it's got to be, once I had the pattern figured out, I did a numerical thing, and then I just put this on here with my needle minder. Don't mind this. This is just colors I might or might not need. But yeah. So basically I'm just going down or around, starting in hole 1 and going over to hole 4. Come up at 2, go over to 5. Come up at 3, go over to 1. Come up at 4, go over to 2. For me, reading it like that was so much easier. And for the smaller one, it was come up at 1, go over to 3. come up at 2, go over to 1, come up at 3, go over to 2. Yeah, in my head I was, if I come up at 1, I have to go down in the 3rd row, in the 3rd stitch down. Then I come up at 2 and go over to 1, come up at 3. And that way also, if you walk away from it, if you just look up for a minute, look at the TV, and then you look back at it and you're like, oh no, where was I supposed to go? If you're coming in from the 1st hole, you know you gotta go down over to the 3rd hole. I found doing that so much easier. I got into rhythm that way, and it was so... It seemed to have increased productivity. And now, this area is done. I'm actually going to take it out of the Q-snap for a minute. Okay, so it's out of the Q-snap. And here's what it looks like so far. No beads. But as you can see, there's just one corner left. One quadrant. Yeah. So I will be loading it into the Q-snap so that it is ready to go into this area. And if I do it right, I shouldn't have to move the Q-snap again until it's done. Just realized there's still some 1/1 over here left to do. And I believe it's just the yellow and the white left in that spot. Would look like that. But yeah. And while I'm over here, I could start beading because I could. But, yeah. Put that one away. We have more. There is more to show you. Get those all out of the way. Okay. So then from Waterworks, I moved on along, and my last roll was Community Chest, which is the Black Needle Society cards, and I got a design no longer in print. My first instinct, was it my first? It was. It had to be. And then after I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute, I could also do that one. And I was very tempted. This one, I stuck to my first instinct because it's one of those things that I wanted to have this done for so long. So, and it's the older of the 3 that I had in mind for that category. So this is Welcome. English Garden Welcome by Teresa Wentzler. I don't think this was ever published as a standalone. I think it was only ever available in this magazine, which is the Just Cross Stitch June 1999 issue. This is a very good issue, and the reason I say that is because I've already made that and those the needle book and scissor case. And I have other things marked off, and of course, I mean, you can see me doing that. And there's the scissor case and needle book, which I believe, well, I know I gave them to Beth in a stitching exchange. And Beth, if you're still watching, I know you downsized and a lot of things have gone away, so, but if you still have them, that was me that stitched them. I'm sure you would remember because I'm pretty sure I put my initials on it. So here's where English Garden was when you last saw it. And here's where it's at now. And it's in a different spot than I usually have it in the Q-Snap. I started it though, and yeah, pretty much just worked on, well, I know I just worked on the pinks and greens and brought the borders over a little bit. I moved it, I did this stitching and then I moved it in the Q-Snap and decided I've done at least my minimum. I really am not adding it deliberately, faithfully, whatever you want to call it. I have a sheet somewhere where I did start adding it, you know, 13, 5, 18, whatever. I was marking them down, and then I looked at it and it's like, I'm beyond 150. You can stop counting now. So, yeah, this is all new. And this is on 28 count mystery fabric that was in my stash. I feel like it's a Lugana. Yeah. Stitched with the called for DMC. It's Teresa Wentzler. It's blend heavy. There are only this many colors, but the combinations are astounding. Yeah, so what, you know, looks like a 30 color chart, well, what is a 30 color chart becomes a 70, 75 color chart. There is 1/1 on this. The welcome part, when it's stitched, it will be 1/1 when we get there. Yeah, I'm mostly working on the border first because this is a very intense border. I was going to backstitch as I go, but it's very intense, and it's like, it really is a border that you want to have it all finished, and then you go through, because there's about 5 different colors for backstitching. So you could take the pink and you can backstitch the roses and be uniform in that, and then the other colors for the vines and the, yeah, because I mean, you can see I did, that's the back of that area. Sure. And I did backstitch that bit. So yeah. No backstitch. Backstitch. So anyways, that one, I don't know if I'm gonna leave it in the Q-Snap or not. That one's a little more complicated. It looks like there's not a lot left to do, but it's still a lot. Yeah. So that's my Monopoly rules. The 2 other projects. There are technically 3 others, but I'm not going to show inner depths. I think called Hatter artwork by Chris Ortega. It's not. Hatter is Omri Koresh. I better make sure I remember to fix that when I'm editing. Okay. So I'm not going to show you Inner Depths by Chris Ortega because all I did was background. And yeah, this is something that I'm working on a little more frequently now, but usually just on Sundays, for 3 reasons, not 2, well 3, I want to get it finished, that's one. Sunday is a bit of a religious day, so, you know, a religious piece on a religious day, and I get up really early to talk to Kim, Gail, and Amy, and we are stitching for the most part, and this one is kind of monotonous. I can find my way around this border without the chart, so that's why I stitch on this on Sunday. And I didn't give you any details. This is Beautitudes by My Big Toe. This is what it's going to look like finished. And, you know, where it was before, we'll do side by side since we're... And, yeah, just working this across. Somewhere here I'm going to have to fudge because something is off and I'm not quite sure what it is. So I'm going to come across the border and then work this way over or something. It's 1 stitch off somewhere. Yeah. So that's my Sunday stitch and my lunchtime stitch, which this one also could have qualified for the no longer in print. I'm actually kind of wondering if I even showed you this. Can't remember if this was it was a start right around my last video, so, and this was Gail had to do something for Monopoly. Stitch along, that's what it was, and she wanted to start a chicken, and I was like, well, I have a chicken, I can start a chicken. And Kim also went online and bought a chicken, and so we started chickens because Gail landed on Railroads, which is stitch-alongs. And the chicken that I started is called Cocoa Pins by Twisted Oaks Designs. And this is what it will look like when it's finished. And this is no longer in print. This was gifted to me by a friend. The model was stitched by a friend, and the design is also from a friend. But she doesn't design anymore, and as a matter of fact, I can't see it. Up top there, right there, that little bucket was made by the person who did this design, Judith. I was just looking to see if there was... I will look it up. if the website is even up anymore, but there was a website. Anyways, I have moved it in the Q-snap because I have that much of it stitched. And this is only on my lunch hour that I'm working on this. If there's a picture of it before, we'll throw it here. And here's where it is now. I'm using Victoria Sampler Clematis. And this fabric is the 28 count dried petal by the company that does the printing. It's printed on and the color name is dried flower, dried petals, dried petals. And it's such a subtle design on there. And I love the way it's turning out. And yeah. I work on, like I said, I work on this on my lunch breaks, and one of the head honchos from the company was there, and he was in the lunchroom, and he's watching me, and he's like, "What are you making?" And I said, "A chicken." And he just laughed, and he was like, "I honestly was not expecting you to say chicken." And I showed him the pattern and everything, and he was like, "Okay, that makes sense," but it would just really threw him off that I'm making chicken. So the way that it gets stitched, it's a large rectangle, and then it gets assembled in a way that would resemble something like this, but a little bit slightly different, obviously. But yeah, it's all in the way you fold it and sew it together. That gives it that shape, and you know, I'm very into the odd shaped pin cushions. As you can see, here are a few that are just sitting on my shelf here. So, that'll be fun. It might be a little bit bigger than I imagined because it's 28 count, but it was the perfect, I think it's going to be the perfect size scrap for that. And, yeah. Okay, so I think those are all the projects within reach that I have, that I've worked on in the last 5 weeks. So for me, that's not too bad. I don't know what the number was. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different projects. Is that really it? 9. Menagerie. Well, anyways, I think it was just the right amount. I pretty much work on my Monopoly roll for a week. I put that one down there. If I am focusing on something else, for instance, the sled stocking, that one also lives by my chair. So Monopoly and the sled. And you know, I'm keeping up my rotation in the mornings for my full coverage pieces. I switch between Hatter by Omri Koresh and Inner Depths by Chris Ortega and Stitching Shelf by Amy Stewart. I have a method. It works for me. I'm behind in the stitch count on the Stitching Shelf. I started that one in 2022. Yeah, supposed to get it done in 10 years, which means a whole lot of math was done. And if you do 100 stitches a day, you can get it done in a year. And so I don't know where I'm supposed to be, or where I am right now, but if you want to know those numbers, I will put them right here. So, plans are to just keep doing it that way because it's working for me. I did not do any of the magazine monthly challenges. I find I just don't want to. What I'm doing is working for me, and I'm just not going to mess with that right now. They're doing the usual monthly challenge would be fine, but the ABC Singo, whatever you want to call it, a different project every day. Or you can manipulate it so that you only work on 5 or 6 projects if you make something work for all of those. That would probably be the way that I would go, but I decided I'm just going to stick with what I have for Monopoly. Yeah. So, anyways, life, not a lot has gone on. Yeah. It's getting chillier. Some things need to be done, to winterize stuff. And tomorrow is a power outage, and so we'll probably be doing yard stuff or going away to do the groceries or something. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm just rambling now, so I think I should just say until next time, which hopefully will be 3 weeks, 2, 3, I don't know. We'll see. Life, right? So until next time, happy stitching.